Welcome to Reasons for Roots. Today I'm just going to be showing you a peek inside our homeschool. I'm currently homeschooling a special needs third grader and a ninth grader. And so these are the books that I'm going to use with my third grader. So we're very eclectic, Charlotte Mason. We read a lot, but we're also adding in some fun things like a Gather Around Oceans unit. My children have loved Gather Around, so we're doing that. We do Swedish drill, then we do math and some read-alouds and notebooking, and that's the gist of his day. I also add in some language arts components, and this is something I'm doing relatively new. I'm adding in Abeka spelling and Abeka language arts, and he is doing very well with the Abeka language arts. The spelling is a weakness, and that's why I chose level 2, but it is something that he's growing in and that we are loving. And so this is our first day starting Oceans through Gather Round. This will be my second time going through Oceans, and I'm super excited to go through it with my little guy. So just here are some notebooking pages that we are using. I am not going to use the notebook, but just the teacher's guide. We're also learning in our history. We're doing ancients, and we are starting with the biblical creation. So we are just doing notebooking pages on Noah's Ark. So I just found these free printables, and we're going to make a notebook page for it in the Ice Age today. For my daughter, these are the books she'll be using today through Living Heritage. Some of these, I think 2 of these, I actually read to her. The rest she does on her own. And then you will see her daily independent work, which is Greek, diagramming the scriptures, and Learn Math Fast Algebra 1. Then we will move on into our Together time, which this is the setup we have for it. Today is poetry in our beauty loop, but we always do our morning prayer, the Nicene Creed, poetry, our Bible memory, and then poetry memorization as well, hymn, and catechism. And then I will read a prayer out of Prayers of Grace from the Reformation. I woke up about 7 this morning. Usually it's about 6. Didn't sleep real good last night, so I got me an extra hour. And then I sit down to my Bible. I always start my day with Bible study. I'm currently working through the Psalms, and I'm loving my new interleaved Bible. If you're a note taker, you should definitely check it out. Gage is outside swinging to start his day. He likes to go outside. I also have book club later today, and we are doing mother culture. I love what she said. She said on page 212, she says, fretting, worrying, and mistrusting wears a mother out. If she carries the gloom of foreboding around with her all day or all week. On the other hand, if she leaves her burden of cares and sorrows at the foot of the cross, not picking it up again throughout the day, this is strength to her soul. And then also on page 216, she says, for my mother culture, I wish to be like Mary. Her treasuring goes along with her intellect. Mary pondered, narrating to herself by way of quiet contemplation. She personalized her experience, increased her understanding by lingering and meditating for a while. She wasn't drawn away or distracted by a screen. So I'm working on my coffee. I like to use fresh goat's milk, but I recently dried my herd up for the fall, and so I'm using some of my friends' Jersey milk. So cow milk I switch over to in the winter because she milks all the way through the winter, so that's helpful. I am about to put on some sausage for us, and then I'm going to wake my daughter up, and Gage and I will start our school while my daughter gets going. Come on in, love. It's time to start school. You're gonna have a few more minutes. This is your warning, okay? So now we're going to do a lot of his read aloud books and his narration. We've been working through the Life of Fred series just as a supplement to math, and he loves it. It is so good. We also do a dinosaur read aloud as part of the science that just goes along with the Genesis study, and we are starting a book about Mesopotamia today, the Golden Bull. So I read it to him, and then I will have him, I'll use our narration cootie catcher is basically what it is. I got that off Etsy, And it is a creative way to help children who may struggle with narration or just need to add some fun into narration. So he actually got the act out your narration part today. And so that's what he did. He acted out part of the book that we read. And then we moved into reading about Noah's Ark, which is our history focus today because we are in ancient world. And I am reading to him a book by Ken Ham called The Door of Salvation. And it is so cute. It has lifts, like little flaps that lift up, and it's rhyming. So we do have a schoolroom, but for Gage's stuff, I have him a basket. I have our grape basket. We do school right here at the table. It's just more convenient for me. And I leave my Bible study material out all day long, most days anyway, because this is the thing. I do have a study room, but if I go back upstairs to study, usually I get distracted on the way or something pulls me. So I leave my Bible right where it's easily accessible with anything I would need to do my in-depth study. That way I can get a few minutes here and there all day long. It doesn't have to be hours, just a few minutes redeemed for our spiritual growth and for the Lord. So now Gage and I are going to start doing his notebooking pages for what we read today about Noah's Ark. He also watched a video about the Ice Age, and he's going to do a notebooking page on it as well. But this was a very cute free download that I found online. It was basically a lap book, but it was very small, so I just had him fill out the pieces, which talked about the length of the ark or the dimensions of the ark, about the birds, about just different questions. And then I had him put that on just a blank piece of paper. And so we're practicing handwriting and just comprehension skills as he does this. Oh yes, very nice. I like it. So a lot of times for notebooking, I will write a sentence or their sentence on the whiteboard and they will copy it down into their notebooking page. So we have read almost all his books, except for Among the Night People. So we'll go back and read it in a little bit. We've done 2 notebooking pages. He watched a video from Answers in Genesis on the Ice Age, did a notebooking page on it, as well as on Noah's Ark. Now I have my basket here for us to do our morning time with Genesis curriculum. So during this time, we go over our Bible verse and our Genesis curriculum. So while we're waiting on Aubrey to come down, I reviewed our memory work with Gage, and then I reviewed it with Aubrey, and then we moved on to our Genesis curriculum. Gage was actually making a puppet in the floor on his quilt that he usually sits on during this time. So he was doing something artsy with his hands, and then he was using his puppet to narrate back to us. So I have him pick one book to read around lunchtime himself. So he picked this one, Mr. Funny Bunny, or PJ Funny Bunny. And so he'll read this to me, and then we'll pause for a little bit. So it's about 10:30. I'm going to go ahead and get lunch on. I'm going to do like a chicken potato soup. And Gage is going to do his Genesis tracing, so his handwriting curriculum. And then he's going to take a break, and we'll finish up with his spelling, some language arts, his oceans unit, and his math in a little bit. So this is something he can do on his own. So he is doing this while I work on lunch. And at lunch, I usually read to them the Chronicles of Narnia. We started that together. So I did that. And now we are doing Aubrey's things she does with me. So I'll keep trying to stay involved in my high schoolers' education. I do not like just setting them aside, putting them in their room, and letting them do everything themselves. I do want them to be independent learners, but I also want to be involved. And so every day there's at least two books that I read aloud to her, and then she'll write a narration on them.
Be farmer, be farmer, be teacher.
Mm-hmm. So we are actually going to run to the dollar store. So we live in a pretty rural area in Alabama. So if you know anything about rural areas, then there's lots of dollar stores around. So we need to make a quick trip, and we're going to listen to David Copperfield as we do that. So it is about 12:30. We took about an hour and a half, hour, 15-minute lunch break. We went to the store. And now we're about to do our Living Heritage Together time. So this is the time we do our beauty subjects, artist, composer, poetry, and we rotate through those. We sing a hymn and we do all the things that I listed earlier in the video. Okay, so for my daughter's Bible, she has finished Bible road trip for this year. And instead of starting her halfway through the year with a new Bible road trip, I just decided to wait till the start of next year. And so what we're doing is a book study on the book of Acts through Bible Nerd Ministries here on YouTube. So if you want to check out Faith Womack and her ministry, I highly suggest you do that. That is at Bible Nerd Ministries here on YouTube. So we actually bought one of her courses. It's on the book of Acts. And so there is a video usually once a week, but this week, since it's the start, there's 2 videos. They're about 20-30 minutes long. And then there's like assigned readings and worksheets that go along with it, or printables. And so today we're just watching the first video, and then the rest of the week she'll be working through Acts chapter 1. So we're about to sit down and do Gage's Language Arts. And I kind of threw a curveball in my homeschool. I haven't used Rebecca in years and years. We usually do rod and staff for all things language arts, but this was my thing with rod and staff. I wanted more of a worksheet based, and rod and staff really isn't that. It's a textbook, because I wanted him to practice his handwriting skills. So that's something that's just needed. And so like the little questions and stuff there that he can do, that's not too much, but just enough to kind of help him practice. And that's one reason why I also went with the spelling, is because, you know, it's just simple little activities. It really doesn't take us that long. And the spelling is advanced, and I mean, their language arts is advanced, but he does really well with the concepts of language arts. Spelling and reading has been more of a struggle, but he's doing pretty well, I think. This was a little more advanced than I thought it was going to be honest. But he's doing well. We're just working through it slowly. So this is his math we're using currently. I am supplementing with some BJU worksheets that I already had when I need to. I don't need to do that every day. And we're also going over math facts. So I love how it ties his math to the Bible lesson from earlier. And today it was about how the sword of the angel that guarded the garden turned all the way around 360. So we are actually coming outside to do our oceans unit. He is going to swing while I read to him. And my noisy herd of dairy goats, they think if I'm out here, then they get a treat. So they'll settle down in a minute. But we'll get busy with our oceans unit, enjoying this beautiful day. So we didn't make it too long outside because it was very hot today. So we stayed out for about 10 minutes. We had all the animals there to join us in our journey. But then we went and settled in on the couch, and he was very fascinated by this unit. It's such a great unit. And it's his first ocean lesson, and he loved it. It was about the deep sea creatures like the blobfish and the stargazer fish. So we had to look at videos with that. I'm not doing like the workbook or the journal that goes with it. I'm just reading the lesson to him. We're going to do notebooking pages. We're not going to do one today because we watched probably 5 or 6 videos, and it's almost 2:30 now, and yeah, I'm done. So we did the oceans unit and we finished his math, and so he is done, and Aubrey is finishing up. So she started her school. We started around 9:30, took about an hour and a half break, and we're done by 2:30. And that's with lots of breaks for my little guy in between. That was not 4 hours straight through, or for her either. So she usually takes 10-20 minute break in between each book, and then we of course take breaks as needed. So we are done. I'm tired today. I did not sleep well last night at all. So I am going to take a quick nap before I go to book club here in about an hour. So Aubrey wrote 3 narrations through her Living Heritage book list. She did all her independent subjects and all the things she crocheted some little pumpkins while I was reading aloud to her. So we had a pretty productive day, I say. And so now we get some downtime. So usually right after we get done, I usually don't take a nap, but we all rest. I usually study my Bible or watch TV. Very rarely do I watch TV. Sometimes I do though, but we all just take a break and relax. So Gage is actually in his room playing. Aubrey is in her room. And I am about to go to my room for a little bit. I hope y'all enjoyed this, and I hope it encourages you in your homeschool journey.